did have more people here. But we are seeing an increase in crime drastically throughout the county. We see it right here in Woodleaf, right next door, across the street. Death, drugs, you name it, it's here, and we've got a response time right now from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. That's going to be brought up in one of the questions tonight. But the first question tonight for all the candidates, and Mr. Jack Elliott, if you'll come up here as well so that you can get in the hot seat. We do have a list of questions. Community watch wise, this is a question for everybody. I'd like for you to all put in your thought. Community watch, what's the legalities in a community watch? What can we do and what can we not do? And I would like to start with Mr. Potts and work this way.
Well, for starters, you need to form your group. Years ago, people would post the signs, community watch program, whatever, get everybody together, exchange phone numbers, addresses, let each other know when you're going out of town. You have the right to protect your own property. Don't approach someone if you're not prepared. You don't want to act too soon. Like you said, you've got a 45-minute response time, but you need to call 911. Obviously, you've already had a problem if you can call 911. The problem's already there. So you should act responsibly and don't ever approach someone if you're not prepared for the outcome. It might be bad for yourself.
So you asked what you can and can't do as far as the community watch program. In my opinion, 45-minute response time is way too long. There are several things that a community watch group could do, and the first thing starts with communicating with your sheriff's office. If your sheriff's office has a 45-minute response time, everybody knows that's just way too long. Things happen in seconds, not in minutes or quarter hours. So if you're having that problem, first thing and foremost, get your community watch group together. You know, large numbers are key, especially to an elected official. Get up there and communicate with them. Say, look, we can't have this out in Woodleaf. We need a response now. There's a lot of things that go into that. You know, we triage things sometimes through communications. We also have a limited number of officers on duty at any one time currently. You know, I think a patrol squad is 10 or 11 officers now. You got one on vacation, one out on FMLA, one in court. So you end up with 7 officers to patrol this entire county. It's just not enough. I mean, it's simply not. And until we can provide more officers, we are not going to decrease our response time significantly. So your lobbying power with your community watches are key to that. Not only with us, but with the county commissioners. They're the ones who hold the purse strings. They tell us how many we can have, how many we can't have. They provide us with the funding to buy them cars to get where they need to go. So one thing you can do as a community watch, lobby the sheriff's office, lobby the commissioners, get your voice heard. We can't have this, okay? Increase patrols, do something. Now, my opinion is if you guys were to elect me sheriff and you came to me, we have one crew right now. It's called the crew team, community reaction unit or something like that, which consists of 4 or 5 people, officers, great officers, every one of them. But if Granite Quarry is having a rash of break-ins and we send our crew team down there to sort of infiltrate that, Woodleaf is stuck with one patrol officer out here. What happens when you guys have a rash of break-ins? We need more crews like that, okay? We may not need more patrol officers that are generally in each zone, but we may need more directed resources, if you will. So those are a couple things you can do. You can ask for special groups to come out here, and we'll do the best we can currently. You know, under our sheriff now, he does the best he can with what we have. But I think back to the question, you want to know what you can do, can't do. citizens, I know you're armed, probably several of you in the audience are armed. I'm a firm believer in that. Like Brad said, you know, be careful of who you approach, because sometimes you don't want a confrontation, and sometimes that's all they're out for. So I would not advise approaching anybody. I would advise calling 911, let the professionals handle it. You stay inside your doors. If they come in, by all means, protect yourself, protect your family, protect your home. But you don't have really any business out confronting bad guys. The community watch can certainly walk the neighborhoods and look around, keep your eyes open. That's the best thing you can do, is keep your eyes open and look for stuff. Things that are out of place, people who shouldn't be there. Call 911 if you see them. That way, if we are across the county somewhere, we can start getting troops headed this way. To where if something bad happens, we're minutes away instead of 45 minutes away. So there's just a few things. I don't want to take up a whole lot of time. There's a few things that you can do, and those are things.
Well, the first thing I think you're doing is organizing is an important thing. One of the things you can start out with is social media. You may already have one, I don't know. I know a couple around the county. That's a good way to talk to your neighbors. Intel from you guys is very important for any law enforcement organization, because you're seeing what's going on. They see us come by in our marked vehicles, you know, they disappear, come back out. Interesting thing about Community Watch, 2014 there was one in the southern part of the county. The sheriff went to it, he asked me to come to it, I went to it, some of his folks went to it. I think at the time they were called the ACE team. I believe they've changed their name now to Crew. And after listening to the citizens, that budget year we were able to add 4 more officers to try to get more folks out there through the county commission level. I think what some of these guys have said is there's a lot of dangerous people out there nowadays. You don't know what people are going to do. We've got drug problems. So I wouldn't necessarily go out and confront them yourselves, but if they come to your property and they're threatening you and your family, you have to do what you do. You need to protect them, protect themselves. I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily say go out and patrol as a law enforcement type agency, but riding around and seeing what's going on, and you can call that in. I think you said there'd be a question later about response times. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit more about that if you get that question. One of the things that I would like to do if elected sheriff, my understanding back in the day, so I don't know how far back the day is, a lot of the SROs would go to fire department meetings, and my understanding is they don't do that now. I'd like to start sending some of those back there, and also like to send them to the community watch meetings, because we need to have, as elected officials, what it is that you guys want. There's a lot of things we can do, a lot of things we can't do, but really at the end of the day, the perfect match is finding what we can do, what you want to do, and put those together. So really, I mean, if this is your first step, I don't know if you've been meeting or not, we get together, organizing, like I say, you can get on social media, find the intel, send it out. One of the things that I know that we have where I work for Charlotte for police officers, we have community coordinators, and community coordinators go around to each different type of group like this, and they'll say, for instance, hey, there's a liquor house up here on 12th Street. We've noticed they're coming this time of day, they're going out this time of day, what can you do? And then we start building a case on that. So I think, like I said, really what you guys can do is provide the information for us, then we can start working the cases, build our information, build our evidence against those areas, and then we can go through and do, we have a lot of different tactics and a lot of different tools that we can use. And so, really, first step is getting organized. Stay safe and do it. Provide us the information, and then I think that'll help both of us very much.
Well, like I say, response time, I just live right up the street here, and if you call the law, you call the sheriff's department, they come from Salisbury. Most of the time, I don't know what it is, it's just like they all hang around the town of Salisbury. Salisbury already has their own police department, so I don't see much reason for the sheriff to be down there. in Woodley, we only have one deputy patrol, all of Woodley, and then part of Cleveland. And to me, like I say, community watch, my thing is, you need to protect your family, you need to protect your property. I mean, it's really gonna be up to us, because it's been the same way for years. I'm 60 years old, I've seen the same thing in the last 3 or 4 sheriffs that we have. If you want things to stay exactly the way they are, I'd say vote for one of these guys right here, because things is gonna be exactly the same. I mean, that's just kind of the way I feel. I mean, it will, because they want it to stay the same, because they don't have a job. To me, it ain't even about me, it's about my family, my little granddaughter right there. It's about each and every one of y'all. I mean, y'all need somebody, I'll tell you what, I will stand up for y'all if y'all will stand with me, because we're gonna have to unite. The country's headed in the wrong direction, but like I say, we're gonna have to, what's the word? I know these guys right here, I know exactly what they're thinking right now. It's like I'm a crazy guy, but I'm not. But the whole thing is, it's pretty much right now, y'all gonna have to protect yourself, protect your property. Like if somebody breaks in your house and steals something that you got, and you call the sheriff's department, they send a deputy out, and he'll fill out a report and turn it into the insurance company. As far as them looking for anything that you've lost, that's out the window. The only way they will find it if they trip over it. And I can keep on and on and on, but that's pretty much it. Like I say, now, you're gonna have to protect yourself, but if you want somebody that, like I say, stand up for y'all, then that's probably gonna be me. And I like to get out and ride around anyhow. I drove millions of miles. And like I say, I'll be all over Woodley. And some of y'all already know me. But like I say, I mean, I'll be all over this town. They won't nobody be able to do no crime, because I'll be here.
Anybody else got any questions for them regarding community watch? Okay, we're gonna move on into this. First of all, if each one of you just stand up and give us your name, what your profession is, then we'll go from there. We'll start again with Mr. Potts.
My name is Brad Potts, I'm 56 years old. I've been in law enforcement since 1988. My grandfather was a police officer for the city of Salisbury and a deputy for Rowan County Sheriff's Office. My mother, Sarah Potts, she ran for sheriff back in 2002 unsuccessfully. She retired from the sheriff's office. She was the first female chief deputy in North Carolina. I've been in law enforcement pretty much all my whole life. I've been retired since 2016. I'm a reserve police officer for the town of Cleveland, and I've been with them this is my 4th year for the town of Cleveland.
I'm Greg Hanold. Currently, I'm a captain with our sheriff's office. I'm over the jails, both of them. I'm over the courthouse security, the training center, the concealed carry office. I've been in law enforcement since 1995, February 14th, I think is when I graduated rookie school in 95. Spent 12 years with the Spencer Police Department, investigations, the last 8 of those or so. Moved to the sheriff's office, came up from bailiff to training coordinator, oversaw all the training for the agency. Moved into a sergeant, was promoted to sergeant over the civil division. Was promoted to lieutenant. And then 5 years ago, I was promoted to captain and took over those jails. The jail now is 368 beds. At one time, we had 420 inmates, $9 million budget. So that's what I take care of now, along with 120 of our 260 officers. So I have been with this office for 14 years, coming up in July, I believe, with steadily increasing levels of responsibility. My father wasn't ever in law enforcement. my late father. I think he always tried to stay behind law enforcement. So it's kind of a new thing for my family, but my son, however, he is a Cabarrus County Sheriff's Deputy now. He's been there about a year, so I think we've started a trend, and I'm proud of that. I don't know what else, if you need anything else about me, you're welcome to ask me.
Well, I live in Unionville, everybody knows where that's at, southern part of the county. Married, have 3 kids. One of my oldest is in Rowan County. She went through, graduated from South Moran. My son's a junior in South Moran, and my smallest is Unionville. I'm not sure what we're gonna do with her next year. I guess she'll go to Millbridge. We attend Piedmont Baptist Church, members there. I have sort of an interesting background. I grew up in Charlotte, Lincolnton, wherever my dad had a church at the time. So I'm a pastor's kid. Moved around a little bit from here. Came back here in '97. We're from the area. Moved here in '97. My wife and I got married. So we were going to buy a house. Where's the house we could afford? And we ended up in Enid. And so Enidville's been very good to us. We raised our children there. It's been very good to us. Definitely always trying to give back to the community that sort of adopted us. Worked in a mill many years. If you ever worked in a mill, hot in the summer, cold in the winter, and I said, you know, I don't really want to do that forever. And look what I did, because that mill's no longer there. So I left there, went to work, learned to work on computers, ended up in a bank. I worked in a bank worked at a bank, not in a bank branch, but I was information technology for around 13 years. I was project coordinator, implementation coordinator. We worked on large technology type projects for the bank. And then I got a little later in life and said, you know, I want to do something different. I want to give back more. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making somebody rich. Not me, but somebody's getting rich off of what I'm doing here. So I want to give back to the community. I went to the Charlotte Police Academy. Graduated from there. Ever since then, I've been the Metro Division, which is our team office on Beatties Ford Road, and we run in between North Tryon and Wilson Boulevard. You saw where the riot started last summer. That was our team office where that started. Very high crime area I've worked, but it's been changing since I've been there. A lot of the area's gentrification, moving folks out, moving them somewhere else, and they're building new houses and things there. I'm in patrol. I'm a patrol training officer. I'm also part of the public order bikes. If you ever saw the riots with the people coming on the bikes, that's part of what I do. Like I said, I've been there since 2010. You may know me as a county commissioner. I've been a county commissioner here since 2010. I've enjoyed that. I've got to work with the sheriff very closely. I think I mentioned earlier, you know, we had a community watch meeting. They said we need more deputies on the road. Found out what they needed. We were able to work into the budget. You know, we've tried very hard as a commission. I know all of our commissioners are very pro law enforcement. We always try to find that balancing act between taxing you too much and providing the services that you need. I don't know how many officers offhand now we've added. I know we added 4 at that time. We've added 6 later. In Salisbury, we're having their issues, and they wanted to rent or let our people do all duty there, so we added more officers. But anyway, that's sort of my background, where I'm at. Also, I'll mention that I'm in the Army National Guard. I was there in the '90s, took a very long break, came back. So I've currently served in the National Guard, previously served in the Army Reserve. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. Hopefully we can talk a little bit more about issues. Thank you.
I'm Jack Keller. I've been married for almost 40 years, I have 2 children. One at the nursing hospital, one lives in Ada County. Got 4 grandchildren right there, one that. I've kind of been around law enforcement my whole life. Back when I was little, my dad, he was the sheriff here in John M. Spottle. And say, I've been married almost 40 years, and, my father-in-law, he retired from the sheriff's department, and in '86, he ran for sheriff. He lost out, but it was real close, election. And instead of having a runoff, which he could have, but he didn't have the money to do it, he, Bob Martin became sheriff. They didn't have a runoff, and he told him he could have any job if he'd agreed to that, and he did. Well, whenever Bob Martin won election, he gave his father-in-law a job as a bailiff. And before that, father-in-law was a detective. And he just kind of always resented that, and over the years, I've been around him, for like 35 years, I was around him. And he always resented that, and that's one reason I'm running as sheriff, because he resented it. And to me, two things I cannot tolerate, one is a liar, and the other is a thief. But, like I say, but I've pretty much been around law enforcement my whole life. But my profession is, I own a trucking business. And if people think that I'm in this for the money, they wrong, because I don't even know exactly what the sheriff makes, but I probably make 2 or 3 times what he makes. So it's not about the money. It's about my family and every one of y'all. It's leading this country in the right direction. These other guys, I mean, I know they all been in law enforcement now, but like I say, everything's pretty much been the same, and if one of these guys are elected, the next time you will see them is when they're running for office again.
Okay, next question. Again, we're gonna start with you, Mr. Fox. Why do you wanna be sheriff, and why do you think you're the best candidate?
I want to be the sheriff of Rowan County because I want to make a difference. I want to provide quality law enforcement to the citizens of Rowan County. Woodley, sounds like you need it. 45-minute response time. I want to be a sheriff that's going to be accessible to the community and to my deputies. If you want to come to the office and talk with the sheriff, if you've got a problem, you don't think the deputy came to your house when you call 911, answer your question the way you want it answered, you come talk to the person who's in charge and see if you can't get any results. You can't always get the right answer to the question that you want. We don't always get the answer that we're looking for. But you gotta have somebody that can sit down and talk with you. I've built a relationship over the years with a lot of people. I retired from the highway patrol. I've worked with a lot of fire departments on wreck scenes and things such as that. I get along well with everybody. I pride myself on being fair and honest and treating everyone the same. And I want to be able to be the person that when you've got a problem, you call. I'm gonna help you. And in response to what Jack said, you won't just see me in 4 years. You see me riding during the daytime, you see me riding at night, you see me riding through your neighborhoods. I'm not gonna be somebody that just sits in the office and draws a check. And at 45-minute response time, you might only have 10 deputies on the road, but you've got a sergeant, you've got a lieutenant, you've got captains, most of the captains and higher ups. I think he can answer this work during the day. But during the daytime, you've got extra help in the sheriff's office. They can come out and answer you, help respond to calls. You're top heavy, which means you've got higher up positions occupying salaries. Well, let them go out and help run some of the calls in the community. If the deputy's out because he's on vacation or he's on sick or FMLA or whatever the situation is, well then pull somebody out of the sheriff's office, pull somebody from a desk. They can run calls, they can respond to the community and cut that 45-minute response time down.
All right, so, there's a few reasons I want to be sheriff of Rowan County. The main one is, even though our current sheriff does a good job with our employees, I think that some different methods could be implemented to where everybody gets a fair shake. I don't care who your mother is, or your father, or your cousin or who you've dated in the past, that doesn't matter to me. I will tell you this, in the position that I'm in, I have recommended termination to people who I consider friends of mine. And I still consider them friends of mine, and they still consider me friends, knowing that I did what I needed to do for the better of the agency, okay? I'm not gonna treat anybody any differently. Doesn't matter your color, creed, race, it just doesn't matter. So I treat people fairly across the board. I wanna see that in our sheriff's office. I wanna see that in our community. You know, in today's society, we're really living in a place where nobody believes that happens. Nobody believes that the police treat people fairly. And, you know, we've earned some of that. We've treated people badly. There ain't no doubt about that. We've earned it. Not all of it, but we've earned some of that. And I'd really like to see that change. I've worked 26 years of this career, going home and sleeping good at night, knowing that it didn't matter who you were, I treated you as good as I possibly could. So, you know, I want to see everybody be treated that way. Brad was talking about get some people out of the sheriff's office. Well, see, there's what makes me different from anybody else sitting up here. I'm already there. I know that already happens. Our lieutenants are already out there answering calls. Our captains, I also know that our captains, and I don't think anybody else up here knows this, our captains have quite a few other responsibilities. They can't always go out and hunt calls like a patrol deputy. They just can't. So, yes, we need to have all hands on deck when there's an issue. But we don't need to let it get to an issue. We need to foresee those problems, solve them before they become problems in your neighborhood. So that's what makes me different, okay? I have come up through every rank we have. And so far in the race, there is nobody else who's done that, okay? I know what it takes to be a sergeant. I know what it takes to be a lieutenant. I know what it takes to be a captain. I just think that that's what sets me apart. My 26 years of ever increasing responsibility.
Well, first part is very easy. You know, I live here like all of you. I want the best for this county. I think I can provide good leadership as a sheriff. I have a very unique background, I think. All the different areas, different things that I've done. You know, I look at where we are as a nation. I think it's very important to have a sheriff that understands that we're going to get some probably things coming down from Washington that we don't like, and that we've got to understand that as a sheriff, we're going to have to interpret those things and see if they are constitutional or not. I think another thing as far as what we've got going on today in DC, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I do think that our local sheriff and who we have there has to be a person who understands the constitutionalities and understands where our rights come from and what our rights are. And our rights don't come from the Constitution. Our rights are natural. They come from the Creator God. And so I think that's one of the reasons that I want to run. The other reason, that I've been a commissioner for going on 9 years now, I've worked throughout the county with a lot of different agencies, a lot of different fire departments. I've worked hand in hand with many folks around creating, I guess, the best environment that we can for the county. I like where we're headed economically. I think from the standpoint of 2008 when we had a recession, we lost a big mill in Kannapolis. We've lost all the jobs. I think the things that we've got going on now in the county have set us in the right direction. I'm glad that I've been part of that. What I want to continue to serving you as your sheriff is that we can leverage those benefits from those things. We can do some things in the future You know, I work with the sheriff's budget every year, we look at where things can go in the future. I know at least since I've been on there, we've looked at salaries twice, for the deputies, who've been able to do increases. We certainly aren't, we'll never be at the level like Charlotte, for instance, but Charlotte's a whole different type of thing than we are here. We do studies, we try to stay competitive who we're surrounded by, so we can give the best salaries and the best benefits we can to our employees. Really, I think we are at a very good spot in our county. I think some of the things that I hear from developers, they're looking at our county because they know that we're headed in the right direction. And I want to continue working with our county, with our people in our county, and with our different officials, to try to keep that growth going, but do it from a different area, do it from the side of law enforcement. More than likely, we're going to have quite a bit of a population explosion here over the next decade. We're going to have probably a lot of folks moving in that may think differently than we do. We're going to have to work, try to remember where we are and where we came from, and also try to provide the services that people expect from their government.
Well, one reason I want to be sheriff is because if you go down and see the sheriff right now, I don't know if any of y'all ever go in there other than some of y'all. You got to make an appointment to see the sheriff. That's crazy. But the real reason I'm wanting to be sheriff is because, look, in 1993, I had a brother that was murdered. And like I say, a guy had shot. It was 2 days before Christmas. We had to go to the morgue, me and my mom, a couple of my brothers, my dad. I mean, it's a terrible sight, and it's a terrible thing. And the man that shot him was already a convicted felon, shouldn't even have a gun. But anyhow, it changed our whole life, I mean. And any kind of crime, I mean, it'll change your life. But that's one reason, I don't want y'all to have to go through what I went through. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that's killed, and it's just like gun laws. I mean, you know, you would think that would have a lot to do with what I believe in, because my brother was murdered. But I'm for gun rights. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you ought to be able to have a gun, as many guns as you want. I'm probably like I say, I mean, I don't want y'all to have to go through that. And just like crime, I mean, they send a deputy out and takes them to report. That's it, I mean. But I want to help y'all, man. If y'all would stand with me, I'll stand up for you. The sheriff's department, like I say, I know the last 40 years, it usually just goes the same way, and it don't ever change. But day one, I go down there, I'm gonna take a screwdriver and take that door off. Y'all wanna see me? Y'all welcome to. Like I say, if y'all call, I live right up the road here. And I could probably be any point in Rowan County within 30 minutes. From southern part of the county, to the eastern part of the county, to the northern part of the county, I could be. And like I say, I don't understand why it takes an hour or two, or sometimes they don't even come when you call them. But like I say, it's all about y'all. It ain't about me, or it's about my grandkids, it's about my daughter, my son, my daughter-in-law. I mean, it ain't nothing to do with me. It ain't really for me, it's really for y'all. Because God, like I say, if y'all want things to stay just like it is, I'd say vote for one of these guys over here. Or a couple of the other guys that ain't here.
Okay, we're gonna go the other direction this time. Next question, where do you stand on the 2A sanctuary?
Well, you're gonna have to explain that to me.
2A sanctuary, Rowan County is a 2A sanctuary. 2A being your Second Amendment, which gives you the right to bear arms. Okay, Second Amendment is under fire, as we all know. So, that's my question.
Okay, I've heard that same question before, that think gun rights okay. If you're a law-abiding citizen, and you want one gun or you want 500, I don't care. Look, if I'm elected to sheriff, I will not let none of my deputies come try to take one away from you, as long as you're a law-abiding citizen. But if you're a criminal, they need to take them off the streets. I mean, like I say, my brother was murdered, okay? You'd think I'd be just totally against guns. I've deer hunted, rabbit hunted, squirrel hunted my whole life, and I enjoy guns. But like I say, the people that they get, well, let me tell a little story right quick. This is about the sheriff's department. In 2010, I ran for sheriff. And after I ran, somebody broke into one of my apartments down here, stole 10 guns. Here a few years ago, they found one of them. The guy had a lot of drugs. He was already convicted felon. He had a stolen firearm that belonged to me. They might think they full stole firearm. I had to go to court 3 times. They spent me come to court 3 times. And I make $1,000 a day. So that day, 3 days, that's $3,000 I lost, okay? But now look, the 3rd time I went, there's a lady said, well, Mr. Eller, they down to go to Superior Court, said, you don't have to come back and tell you. I thought, well, we should have told me that the first time, but they didn't. But anyhow, a couple months rolled by, and I own a farm down close to Faith. I was down there, and I called my wife, and I told her to call the VA, and asked what status was on that trial. My wife called about 10 minutes later, said, oh, they tried that case today. I said, they didn't call me. So I get the big up, I drive up, talk to Brandy Cook, which is the DA. I can't talk to her. I talk to one of her assistants. I don't want to talk to her assistant. I voted for Brandy Cook. I want to talk to her. Well, it went like, so I was thinking, well, I'm already here. I might as well go down to the sheriff's department. The trial's over. Might as well go down to the sheriff's department and get the gun. So I went down there, walked up there, I said, I need to see Kevin Mountain. They said, you got an appointment? I said, no. They said, well, you can't see him then. So, gun rights, like I say, if you're a law-abiding citizen, I say you can have guns. But the thing about it took me about 3 weeks to get my gun back from the sheriff that was front me, one of the deputies brought it to me. But later on, they sent me a letter of what happened and what happened. But a lot of drugs, 18 pounds of marijuana, I think it was, 4 stolen guns, and he was already a felon. You know what he got? He got 36 months probation, $1,500, a $1,500 fine, and $185 for a corner lawyer. And I wanted to know the name of that lawyer because just in case I get any trouble, I'm gonna hire him.
Same question, where do you stand on two-way sanctuary?
All right, well, first I'll say this, I've always been a supporter of the Second Amendment, and I spoke earlier, the Second Amendment's not where we get our rights from, we get our rights from the Creator and natural rights. So I've told people, and I'll say it again, even if the Second Amendment was repealed, it doesn't mean that you don't have rights to own your firearms. I've been a life member of the National Rifle Association since 2003, been a member since 18. So when I got elected to commission 2012, in February of 2013, I brought 2 resolutions to the Board of Commissioners. One resolution, at the time, the state was looking at making concealed carry addresses and names a public record where anybody could get them. There was a newspaper in Raleigh that was publishing all the addresses and names of folks. So I brought a resolution forward, commission passed, tell our state representatives that we didn't want that. As far as I know, that went up to them, and then that particular thing failed. We also passed a resolution at that same meeting, which is real similar to the Second Amendment resolution, which we were saying that, basically the same things, that our rights come from the Creator, and that we would not use any county money to help the federal government take any of our guns or any sort of that thing. So we passed that in 13. After that, a little bit after I became commissioner, I found out that we didn't have concealed carry on county property. So I brought forth, we changed the ordinance at that point, without our employees, and we allow citizens, to carry concealed on county property now. I think that was 14 or 15 that we were passed out. To be honest with you, that one took a little longer, because I think there was a lot of, upper level county people dragging their feet on that one, but we finally got it pushed through. We got that passed. We found that the state had changed some of the rules on parks where you could carry concealed, and we weren't in line with that, so I had to bring that up. We were able to line our ordinance up with state laws at that point. And then last year, we had the Second Amendment sanctuary resolution that I brought forth, and it was reiterating to all the people here, to all of our elected officials, that we are a Second Amendment county. We didn't really like the term sanctuary because we didn't want to be confused with illegal sanctuary cities where illegals were staying, but it was the same thing. I think we call us the Second Amendment county. And so I think from my standpoint, I've had a long history of being a supporter of our natural rights to protect ourselves. And it's not just protect yourselves from criminals. I mean, the founding fathers put that in there. They had just overthrown a government that was very aggressive, and they said that we need those rights. If we ever get to the point where the government is infringing and violating our natural rights, that we need to be able to protect ourselves. So there you have it. I think I have a record, public record, being a very strong Second Amendment supporter, and
Second Amendment, right, keeping bear arms. Everybody in here knows what it says and how you use it. I appreciate Mike and what he's done with the commissioners to protect our county from certain things. But the fact for me is, from a young age, I was brought up in a household of guns. My father had a gun business. We had guns, I guess, in about every room of the house, all right? He's no longer with us. I've got some of the guns that he's had. I've got 4 of my 5 family members here, my immediate family. 3 of those are eligible to have a concealed carry permit, and 3 of them do. My daughter, who is not here, she's eligible, and she has one. My mother, my oldest son, the only one in my family who don't have one is my 11-year-old. Although he knows how to shoot and he knows the damage, I think the Second Amendment is vital to us. I don't have any intentions of infringing that on anyone in our county. And again, taking guns and some kind of illegal gun grab is not in our future. Not if you let me. I do, however, believe in some kind of common sense when it is that we are giving firearms to people. All right? There are people in our community, you know, they don't need a gun. There are people in my family who do not need a gun. Okay? Just being honest. There's people in every one of your families who do not need a gun. So, do we need some kind of control over it? Absolutely, we do, just to protect all of us. Do we need to take a 30-round magazine and limit it to a 15-round magazine? I'll just go buy 2. All right. So, am I a 2A supporter? Yes. 2A sanctuary? I'm not sure that even has a valid definition other than making people feel good about their community is 2A supportive. And yes, I'm supporting a 2A, but 2A sanctuary, you know, they've got sanctuary cities in other states that we don't like. So I don't want to confuse being a supporter of the Second Amendment with putting all my eggs into the 2A sanctuary basket. So here's my feelings on them. Y'all can call it what you want to. I'm pro-gun. I love guns. I love shooting. I love being able to protect my family, and I love my loved ones going out to Walmart and having something that's not going to make them a victim in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. All right? So if that's a 2A sanctuary supporter, I'm in. So again, I've grown up around them. I intend to raise my family around them, and I would hope that you do the same thing responsibly. Teach them what a gun will do. Teach them what a bullet's gonna do to a person when it hits them. Teach them how to, more importantly than that even, and Brad will know this, more importantly than that is teaching them not how to pull the trigger, but how to deal with the aftermath. Because that's where victims become victimized twice. All right? You're a victim of a crime and you defend yourself. You've got to live with that. Teach people early how to live with it and what's going to happen so that they're more prepared when or if that happens, God forbid. Okay, so yes, 2A supporter, have been, always will be.
Second Amendment, right to keep and bear arms. You better have a gun. Gun control only impacts law-abiding citizens. If the federal government tells you you can't have a gun, you're a law-abiding citizen, Joe Blow down the street, who is a crook, who is a thug, who is a murderer, whatever his situation is, he's got it. It only impacts folks who want to legally own a gun. Sanctuary County, as Mike has done, I think North Carolina right now, we have at least 70, last time I looked, sanctuary counties. They're strength in numbers. The more people that think we have something to protect us from the federal government, if it ever does happen, to come take our guns from us, a sanctuary county, and if we have, there's 100 counties in North Carolina right now, at least 70 of them are members of that sanctuary county compact. And they are there to help protect legal, law-abiding citizens who do have guns legally. Gun control, like I said, only impacts folks who want to own a gun legally. And like Greg said, it comes, you gotta start with safety. Like Jack said, all the guns he has stolen from him, if you've got children in your home, you need to teach your children gun safety. What a gun does, what it can do, what it won't do by itself. Guns don't kill people, people holding guns kill people. You've got to keep the guns out of folks that don't need those guns. But that's probably on something that never happens. Like Jack said, his brother was murdered in 1993. Well, I had two grandparents murdered in 1992. They were in court that day. They were released from court. They should not have walked out of court, but the assistant district attorney didn't do his job and let them leave. And they had access to guns. They were convicted felons. Like Jack said, his brother was killed by someone who was a convicted felon. Guns are out there. You know, they're a dime a dozen. But the gun itself doesn't kill anybody. The gun in someone's hand, is the person holding the gun is the problem. And like Greg said, we've got to vet people. Like he said, everybody doesn't need a gun. You got people with mental issues, they don't need guns. That's why they have the vetting process for the concealed handgun process. They check them out. If they deem they're unfit, they don't get a gun. If they're fit, they get a gun. But then you have to train that person. That's got to train his granddaughter. I'm sure he's probably told her all about guns. He's probably put a gun in her hand, and he's probably told her what to do, what it won't do. But I do believe in the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. In the sanctuary county, I thank Mike for getting on board with all the other counties in North Carolina to protect your rights. If it ever comes to a point where the federal government comes to your front door and wants your gun, there's strength in numbers, and if every county in North Carolina bands together, we can prevent that.
Let's go to the response time. We'll start over here.
I have a question.
Yes,
Is that all we're gonna say about the Second Amendment?
we're gonna go to another one, but
No.
if you have a question, go ahead and ask.
You're gonna go to the Second Amendment some more later on?
Wait, go ahead and ask what you wanna ask.
I would hope it would never come to this, but if, as sheriff, you got the law from downtown or wherever the federal government saying that we're coming in and we're gonna confiscate guns, would you be willing to stand between those who are gonna confiscate our guns and the members of your county?
Now, let me go ahead, ask that one more time.
All I'm saying is, if the federal government says we're gonna confiscate guns, would you as sheriff make sure that that didn't happen, whatever it took? even to the point of arresting a federal officer if that's legal.
I'm the guy that'll do that. I will stand there for it. Yeah, cause I believe in it that much. I mean, I'm gonna say right now, this is the type of guy that I am. If anybody comes to my house, law enforcement, government, I don't care. If they come and get mine, they might get it, but they'll get the lead first. And that's just the way I feel.
Like I said earlier, our rights don't come from the government, so they can't take them away. I'm not, as sheriff, we're not gonna participate with any federal program to take any guns. I really don't see that, to be honest with you, I don't see, there could be a point where that happens. I don't see them going door to door taking guns, because there's certainly more of us than there are them. I think they'll try to do is chip away at our rights little by little. They've got this, I think it's House Bill 127 out there, if you've read that. It's just a giant conglomeration of just horrible things. I think they throw out those big scary bills like that, and then they reel it back in and just do a little thing, and then everyone's like, oh, we stopped the big one, but we missed the little one. I think that's more likely what they're gonna do. They're gonna do it over, and they're gonna do it over and over, before you know it's like the frog.
Yeah.
Holding water. You look up like, what happened to our country? It's gone, all of our rights are gone. So, I don't think they'll ever do that. I don't think they will, but if they do, I'm certainly, as a sheriff, I'm not gonna participate in that and do what we can to help protect the citizens. But at the end of the day, everyone is responsible for their own safety also.
Amen.
We try to provide as law enforcement, but I guess we're gonna talk about response times, when you need us for however minutes away, I don't know what the response times are for you, but if you need someone immediately, we're just a few minutes away. So you've got to be able to protect yourselves first, and then supplement it by what we can do and help with. So, like I said before, I think I've got a long history of being a Second Amendment supporter, and I don't even, like I said, we passed those resolutions in 13 of we're not going to use any county money to help with any kind of federal gun grab. So, yeah, I think definitely working for you to help keep the federal government out of your house.
Anybody else got any questions on any type of 2A?
We're gonna let us answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's all right, sit down.
No, go ahead.
That's a tough question.
I know.
I mean, it puts you on the spot. And,
Well, this come up in Missouri.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, here in Rowan County, again, we will not be doing any kind of illegal gun grabs. Number one, like Mike has said a couple times now, we're not gonna use county money and resources to go out and knock on your door and ask you if you've got any guns. And if you do, give them to us and you can get in some big shootout. Number two, I guess, that is something that I suppose in some future year could possibly happen. The federal government saying, hey, we're gonna go around and round up all the guns. First and foremost, there is not a government agency in Washington large enough to cover any significant area in the country, because the first couple of houses they hit in Rowan County is gonna be shooting back at them, and they're not gonna get anything done. So I think it's very far-fetched to believe that a federal agency is gonna come down here. What'll happen first is, here's what'll happen first. They'll try to pass the legislation. And that is where we get our directives from generally. Now, as the sheriff, I would not have power to make legislation, but we have a sheriff's association. We've got plenty of organizations that work very hard to protect your rights and protect you from that happening. Okay, so while possibly it could happen, or it could be in the works in some people's mind, our Sheriff's Association, if I'm a member of it, I will fight hard to make sure that they are lobbying on the right side so that those laws, those illegal gun grabs never even get passed. Now, am I gonna get on my horse and ride out to the county line? Probably not. Okay, but I will be working behind the scenes just like I've done for 26 years now. I've kept my head down. I've not been a politician. I've been a worker. I've worked hard. And I'll continue to do that to make sure that we don't have to come and get in between any federal agent and a homeowner, because they're just not going to be able to come and do that to us. Okay? That's my stance on it.
What you ask is a hypothetical question.
I know,
May never happen.
I hope it
Could happen.
I know,
But anything's possible.
especially these days.
You don't want anybody coming to your door, giving you guns, because you're not gonna give them up. You're gonna do what you need to do to protect yourself. Anyone in this room is not going, there's not gonna be a bloodbath. It really would. There are legal ways and legal standards and things you put in place to prevent that. You've got the federal government, you've got your state government. The state would do what they would try to do to prevent that. And you've got the Sheriff's Association, like Greg said, and everyone else, that we form a barrier to do what we could do to prevent that. You know, sometimes you can prevent things, sometimes you can't. You know, that's probably never gonna happen, but anything, where it ever changes society, what was good yesterday is not good tomorrow. What you did next week, you couldn't do 6 months ago. But I would do what I needed to do from a legal standpoint to protect everybody in my county or the state of North Carolina, not just Rowan County, for whatever we needed to do to prevent that.
Yeah, you know, many people, many people's real concerned the way the federal government just wants to strong on everything. And I think people are scared because they saw how quick people who have power to stop people's work and their livelihood. I mean, it took people's jobs and took people's businesses, and people are just poor now, and you just never know what else they're gonna do.
You don't.
I know.
300 some million people in the United States, and how many federal employees are there? Not 300 million.
I know.
You know, 1 million federal employees at best. I don't know how many federal employees there are, but 1 million can't take 299 million.
But
You're
there are a
looking at
lot of
something that
people,
probably
there are a
would
lot
never
of people who are in the know who are looking to the sheriffs to protect us. They really are.
From a legal standpoint, you can't do so much.
Right.
That's why you have legislation, you have county commissioners to enact things, to have tools in place to prevent what your hypothetical question is.
Sure. Thank you.
Since we're on the 2A stuff, anything dealing with weapons, what weapons do you feel the public shouldn't have? We hear a lot of sheriffs talking about, public shouldn't have access to this, public shouldn't have access to that. Is there any, you can just answer up on this one, is there any weapon out there that is made public to the people now that you can just go buy, that y'all would say, okay, government said it's illegal, say a 30-round magazine. If they say that was illegal, if the state of North Carolina says that it is illegal to have a 30-round mag, if someone is in possession of that 30-round mag, are you going to enforce that law?
Yes. Absolutely. Well, I was just gonna say yes. Unfortunately, I've taken an oath a long time ago to say, yes, I'm gonna enforce the laws of this state and this county. If we can't stop that legislation before it happens, then we've lost that. It's unfortunate. But my job is not to make legislation. My job is to enforce laws. If y'all want the legislation to be different, elect different legislators, okay? But you hire me to enforce the law. You let the laws become laws when you elect those people in Raleigh, okay? If you don't want that law, don't elect those people. If you don't want the law enforced, don't elect me. I have put my hand on the Bible, raised my right hand, and took an oath to enforce the laws of this community, and that's what I'm going to do. I won't be happy if I've got to charge somebody because they've got a 30-round magazine. I'm not going to be happy about it. No more than you will be. but you haven't taken that oath. You've probably taken an oath, and I hope you feel very sincere about that, as I do. So when it comes time that the law has passed, and this is the law of the land, and our community has said, this is what we want by hiring those legislators, yes, I'm gonna enforce that law. If you don't want me to, hire somebody else for your sheriff, because, you know, that's the only way I know how to do it. It's the only way I've been doing it for 26 years. So, unfortunately, regretfully, yes.
Well, just like he said, if any of us are elected sheriff, we can only enforce the law. I mean, whatever laws is there, any of us or the other ones that's running for sheriff, we can only enforce the law. All thing I'm saying is, I'm probably a lot different than they are because they've been in government and law enforcement for several years. The thing is, we have got to stick together. I'm only one voice, okay? I'm just only one voice. But if I got 20,000 people standing up for the same thing, we can change the law. The justice system is a joke. It really is. I mean, when they arrest somebody, say somebody breaks into your house and they arrest them and take them up town, first thing they do is give them a lawyer. And then most times they don't do that to them. Like I say, we as people, we have got to stick together. And the more people you got, you can get the laws changed. And that's what we need to do. That's just like the bump stop. I mean, I'll say I had one, okay? But now they've outlawed them. Third round threat, same thing. You know, if I elected the sheriff, I ain't gonna be carrying a 40 caliber pistol or 9mm. I already got mine. I got me a 500 Smith & Wesson. So, but like I say, the people that's running for sheriff, they can't do nothing about the law. All they can do is enforce it. That's it. That's what the sheriff is for. But I'm just saying, if you stick with me, enough of us get together, we can have the laws changed. And that's what needs to be done. Because there's a lot of laws that's just not really right.
So, question about 30 round mags? Any other question? So, I don't know if they're gonna get to that point or not. There's some federal, stuff there. I think that was in 127 I talked about earlier. Fortunately, in North Carolina, we do have officer discretion. And so, if there is a 30 round magazine, it's for some reason, the federal government does pass that law. It's really more on the officer responding to the scene. I'm certainly not going to tell my deputies to arrest people for 30 round magazines. I'm probably not even going to tell them to cite people for 30 round magazines. You would be very surprised the things that go on that are that officer discretion, and especially big cities. Don't get me on the drugs in Charlotte right now. So is the whole process involved? It sounds like, hey, they're going to outlaw 30 round magazines. James is going to search on people's houses, taking 30 round magazines from them. No, we're not going to do that. If there's some other crime committed and we come across someone that has a 30 round magazine, and this is theoretical that they're illegal, they've committed a different crime, we're going to have to seize the weapon anyway. At that point, we would seize it, and then the DA is going to decide whether or not they're going to prosecute that crime. We're not going to go out, look for 30 round magazines. We're not going to go out and specifically try to charge people for those things. If they've committed other crimes and that's part of it, it's probably through the whole process of the way they do those things. The DA probably will charge them for it. If they'll plea deal it out, there's a lot of different things they do. So it's really, honestly, this kind of maybe sounds kind of wishy-washy, but it really is not a straight up thing because we're not, from the standpoint of going to people's houses and taking 30 round magazines, no, we're not going to do that. They're illegal. If they commit other crimes and they have 30 round magazine, of course, we're going to seize their weapon at that point. And then we'll let it play through. And like I said, Officer has some discretion, North Carolina state law does allow that, so, you know, if there's a 30-round magazine, and they're not charging people for it, it's not something that I'm gonna, held people up on as a sheriff.
What Greg said, you take an oath. You can't be selective with what laws you're going to enforce and what laws you're not going to enforce. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Now, what did you do to draw attention to yourself for me to be looking at your 30-round magazine? What crime did you commit? I just can't come knock on your door and say, hey, let me see your magazines. So it all falls back on what you did as an individual for me to be looking at you. Or if you did something for me to have to approach you, or 911 was called and it took us 45 minutes to get to you, as it's been taken, well, then you might have a problem with that magazine, if magazines are illegal at that. You just can't be selective. There's not a gray line. Right is right and wrong is wrong. If you're not supposed to have something, you're not supposed to have it. That would apply to me as well. Not just you or anybody else. You can't be selective of what you enforce. And like Mike said, you have officer discretion. Well, some officer discretion, that's why we're in some of the trouble that we're in right now. He beat him up too much, and now they're burning our cities down. What kind of discretion did he use for that? But you just can't be selective with what you do. You've got to enforce all laws. You just can't be selective.
To stay with that, unconstitutional laws, which is why I brought up the magazines. Unconstitutional laws being, like we were talking about earlier, that's a God-given right. Whenever the Declaration of Independence was written, amendments, they had one shot, okay? Now we have weapons that you've got 30 plus shots. Who is to say that, number one, legally, we're supposed to the citizens are supposed to be able to have the same weaponry as the military, but we do not. Far from it, very, very far from it. So, what is 30 rounds to a bazooka? What is 30 rounds to somebody that has a fully automatic weapon? What is 30 rounds to anything that is unconstitutional? To take, and I'm gonna have to back off on this because I can get into this really heavy. But with 15 or 10 rounds, 15 rounds, we've seen this in other states. And say I get pulled over and I've got a bag full of magazines that I just come home from the range. I haven't done anything except for maybe my tail light was out, okay? Now they see my bag, maybe I'm jittery, whatever. Here I am asking candidates questions and I'm shaking now. So you understand what I'm saying? You know, there's a nervous side, and then an officer picks up on nervousness, and then they want to start searching a vehicle. Well, now they found all these magazines. The person hasn't done anything wrong, but now we're looking at possible felonies over a law that is unconstitutional. So we've got to be able to, in my eyes, we have to be able to distinguish right and wrong. So just because somebody else thinks that a law is good, doesn't mean that it's right. But let's go on from there because we can really get into this hot and heavy. Let's go straight into the response time because this is something we've all been talking about. We're going to start with Mr. Potts on that end. What would you do to cut response times all over the county, not just Woodley?
There's several ways you can cut response time. You have to hire new employees, but you can only hire new employees based on what your county budget allows you to have. You're only given so much money to operate each year. And I'm not mistaken, the sheriff's office is, the county set up in zones. And each zone is patrolled by maybe one deputy or two deputies, probably just one, I had to guess. And if if that officer is, let's say he made an arrest here in Woodleaf, your Woodleaf officer is no longer in this part of the county because he's down at the sheriff's office or the magistrate's office processing somebody from the last 45-minute response time that they had. Well, you've got Cleveland Police Department. They can call backup or call extra help that come from an allied agency. You've got this, I think each shift has a sergeant, a corporal, a sergeant, and a lieutenant. And the sergeant can come fill in that position in that part of the county if the person left and your community is no longer protected. The lieutenant can come do that, or they can pull somebody that's in another zone a little bit closer to split the difference. There wouldn't be such a long response time. There's no perfect situation other than you can't have 500 deputies working at one time because there's just not enough money for that. And Greg probably knows how many deputies is on the shift at a time. I don't know that. Probably 10 if I had to guess. Like I said, vacations, out sick, made an arrest out of the county, out of this area, but they can backfill from another area and pull someone closer to help. Like they call Cleveland Police Department, close to Cleveland. And there's just numerous ways you can do that, but there's no perfect situation other than you need more help. And like I said, you can pull from the sergeant can come and see us, the lieutenant can come and see us. That's at nighttime. Like I said, during the daytime, like I might step on Greg's toes and I said the chaplains can come out and help and a little bit like that. In a perfect world, that's what would happen. In a perfect world, daytime hours, there's probably more people working than there are nighttime hours, correct? In a perfect world. You got a sheriff, probably 2 majors right now, 2 or 3 captains. If they're all working during daytime hours, probably 5 o'clock, and I know they have other duties. He's doing his budget stuff that he does, and he's looking over his 400 some prisoners. But at some point in time, somebody in the command staff can leave that sheriff's office, be it the sheriff himself, to come help fill a position, to give extra help. Evening hours, you don't have help. You don't have all the command staff working during evening hours. But you can always backfill from another zone and get the sergeant and his lieutenant to come patrol that area as well. But if you have something major, then they're all gonna go, if you wanna go rob a bank, and this is from my experience, if you wanna go rob a bank, call in something in this part of the county, then maybe call a murder in, and everybody's gonna come to this part of the county, and you go rob any bank you wanna go rob, everybody's gonna come over here.
So what do we do about the response time? Yes, I said it before. You get more officers, you pay more officers, you pay more benefits, you buy more cars, buy more guns and belts and bells and whistles to put cameras everywhere. That takes a lot of money, ain't no doubt. The car now is $25,000, $35,000 by the time you outfit it with everything that we need to do what you guys have asked us to do, okay? That's probably not in our future, putting 100 more officers on the street in Rowan County, just to be honest with you. We tried that in the 90s, the cops grants and everything that come down the pipe, and we put a bunch more officers on the street, and believe it or not, most studies in large cities, Mike may know about this, most studies in large cities said that did not significantly decrease the crime rate, just didn't. Yes, it deters somebody on that particular block from breaking into that particular store, and then when you drive off and you're no longer seen, they break into that particular store. So that's not the end all be all, although it would help, I promise you that. It would help. It would give our patrol officers a boost, some morale boost, some help. One thing we can do is educate the public on what to call us about, what to call the police about, how to handle things yourselves safely and efficiently and effectively, how to talk to other people, talk to your neighbors, what resources are out there to train your children. If our deputy is across Woodleaf because a mother called 911 and said, my 9-year-old is out of control and I can't handle it. That's what's taking so long to get to your important call. It's not that we're sitting at Hendricks eating all the time. When you see us at Hendricks, they got off duty. They have spent their night on duty generally. So teaching people how to handle issues and talk to people and unfortunately raise their children right is part of it. And we've gotten away from that as a society. But that's one thing. Decrease our response time by taking some of the frivolous things that our society should be handling with different resources away from us. You know, police didn't start off, you talk about, a lot of talk is about defunding the police. I ain't all about defunding the police, okay? But if you're gonna defund the police, de-responsibility the police. You know, we started off chasing bad guys and catching bad guys and locking bad guys up. And now we're being forbidden to handcuff a 9-year-old that's acting out in school. That's not what the police is for. However, we work for you. And if that's what you want us to do, that's exactly what we'll do. Okay? Because we work for you. We want to make y'all safe. We want to make y'all happy. And if it is that y'all want us to respond to those things, then, and we only get certain people, a certain number of people to do that with, you got to take the good with the bad. And that's unfortunate. So take some of the things that aren't necessarily police functions away from us, and that's one way to increase our response time. The other way is, absolutely, we should probably redraw some of those zones that Brad was talking about. They probably haven't been redrawn in several years. I have not ever seen them redrawn. Redraw those lines. Do it according to statistics. Base it on facts, not, somebody who has a break and enter in their house does not make a rash of breaking and enterings in the neighborhood. So get the actual facts. If it is that 10 people were broken into on that street, then yes, we need to redirect some resources. We don't need an officer riding around necessarily in a neighborhood that has not had a B&E in 12 years. Okay, there are neighborhoods, believe it or not, there are neighborhoods in Rowan County like that. They never have crime. Do we need to respond to those? Yes, absolutely. And they need just as much protection as you do, but they don't need it as often. And hopefully we can direct our resources to where it is needed. Okay, so there's a few things you can do. Money for more officers, more equipment, redirect our resources, more crew teams like I was talking about earlier, and possibly redraw the zone lines. Just a couple ideas.
Well, so I agree with what's been said so far. There is, it is expensive to get deputies. We do need more deputies. We're looking at, you have 4 different shifts, so you gotta have one for each. So you really need 4. Increase if you wanted to create smaller zones, which is one of the things that I would like to do at some point in the future, create some smaller zones and add additional resources. The problem is about $130,000 for a deputy and equipment, so that's about 500 or whatever that would be, 620,000. Go back in public, which you're not supposed to do. 520,000. That's about a 0.5 cent tax increase. Now, it doesn't mean the taxes have to go up to do that. As we bring in more businesses and more things come to our county, we'll have more taxable things. As we get more retail, brings in more retail sales tax. For instance, right now there's a zoning thing Monday for Webb Road, and they're looking to build, I think, 100. Well, anyway, they're gonna build a building about the size of Chewy in there. They don't have a business to go there yet, but it's gonna be a spec building, so that's gonna be coming up for us. And there's a bunch of other things that I've heard. So hopefully, as we get those things, I think it's important. And one of the things that I think that I'm unique in the fact that I've worked with county budgets. When those funds start coming into the county, I know where they are coming from and where they're at. Where can we get them from? Believe it or not, You ask the county manager, we never have any money for anything. And, so they purposely try to say there's no money, but there's money out there from time to time. We just have to know where to go and get it. So at some point in the future, I would like us to create maybe a couple more zones, smaller. We have the funds to do that. The other thing that I would like to do, and I've talked to the sheriff already about it, and whoever becomes sheriff, me or these gentlemen or the other ones that aren't here, I do think that creating a warrant team would be very important for the county. And what they can do is they'll go out and serve the warrants, so you can leave your patrol officers out doing patrols in the county. Probably, I think the sheriff said maybe about 4 of those. We may try to get those in the next couple of budgets if possible, depending on what the budgets look like. Could be things that we're gonna look at. So if we can get that, that's gonna reduce your response time, because if you're here serving a warrant from Woodleaf, they've gotta go up to Salisbury. So if the warrant squad comes and does the warrant, takes them up there, and they can keep the people in their zone. And then the third thing that I would like to look at is more grants. We have some grants that we get in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Basically, right now we can have unlimited overtime down there through these grants that we get. Have a whole different discussion of whether or not the federal government has money to give out grants, but if they're going to give them out, I say we take advantage of them for here in the county. So I'd like us to, the 3 things that I'd like to do is work on the warrant squad. At some point in the future, make a couple more zones, and then try to get some grants to provide some overtime for our folks to get out and just go out and do some proactive work. If they're out doing the proactive work, and then the people on the shift can come and do the response to the areas that need deputies.
Well, I'm a simple man. My thing is, we've had the same problem with the 45 minutes per hour response time up here, and I imagine Bill's probably got the same problem. Like, maybe down in Doleville, they probably got the same problem we have up here. But it's been like that for years. I mean, like I say, 40, 50 years, pretty much been about the same thing. Up here, we just don't really have nobody. What I would like to do is maybe get to, make people from first responders or the fire department, people in each community, and take classes. And most people that live in their own community, they live there because they want to. And a lot of them volunteer to patrol in their parts of the county. So my thing is like I say, like talk to the first responders, maybe get them trained. You know, I don't know exactly how much it would cost to train somebody to do that. I'd like to do that. And another thing is like categorize the crimes. Say if these 2 guys fighting down at the Buccaneer and they somebody breaking in up here, which one would you send a deputy to? I'd say send him up here. That fight won't last over 5 minutes. He'll be over before we get out there, so send somebody up here. And that's just what I'm thinking. I mean, we had a deputy here one time, right, it is right down the road, Kevin McDaniels. And it didn't matter when something went on here, he's retired now. When something went on here, I don't care if it's 4 o'clock in the morning, he jumped up and he went there. I mean, there's not many deputies like that, but I will say, he was everywhere. I mean, he'd be over at Cleveland, I mean, anytime. I mean, if he was off duty, he loved being a deputy. Like I say, I don't think we have that anymore.
Maybe you guys, question, and I want to try and change the subject for a second. Response time is prioritized. I worked a gun shop, I accidentally leaned against the panic button. We had good response time. You know, when there's a bad problem, y'all show up quick. My question is this: my biggest fear in my community is heroin and meth. Have we got hope of winning this war? What can we do? How can y'all help lead us in a safer direction for our kids?
I'll take that one too first, because I've been there, I know what you mean. got friends who lost children to that. I see it every day coming into our jails. And yes, we do have hope of winning it, but we gotta start in different places. We can't only start with the guy that's already out here doing it. I've started programs in our jail. You know, they come in there, we've got a captive audience, we can pretty much do what we need to do with them, and we can get them help, and we can get them treatment. I've brought in social workers to work with them. Social workers, medical attention, you get them cleaned up, for lack of a better term. You provide them with resources once they leave there. You make sure that they go to those resources, those appointments. At one time, before COVID hit, and I had to regulate some stuff to where people couldn't come into jail because they were bringing germs or viruses or whatever in possibly. We had people doing just that, and it was working. You know, we released people that they already had an appointment with the day mark, or they already had a bed at a different facility, an overnight facility, or a 10-day facility, or a 3-month facility. That's one place we got to start again. You know, I did that with zero money. Zero money. I used, she was a senior social worker from Livingstone College. She needed an internship. Brought her in, developed that program, and it worked for a while until we couldn't do it anymore. We got to throw resources at that. We got to teach kids. You know, this stuff's bad. This stuff will kill you. This is what you're going to look like. This is how your life is going to end up. So we got to start young and teaching them the right way. We got to create a community that will embrace people instead of, and that's what churches are for. You know, embrace everybody. Don't shun them because they're dressed bad and you know they're heroin addicts. You know, a lot of people say, well, you use Narcan on them one time and let them go. Next time, don't use Narcan on them again. We've Narcan people 5 times. Which ones do you let go? You let your kid go after the first one? You let your kid go, your mom? I can't let them go. I don't think that's the right way to do it. That's not winning, that's avoiding. And yeah, they will die. I've seen it, 100%. I've done CPR on them. But we can win it. We got to start at the right places. We got to get to where they are. We can't start in our own home and hope that it happens out there. We got to get to where those people are and give them resources. Our community's got to chip in, and you know, the state did away with their mental hospitals for the most part. Though everybody with a mental illness now is in my jail, your jail, and they're expecting us to take care of them. Same with opioids and heroin. Got to start with the right people. These young kids, we got to teach them right. And it's up to us as adults and community leaders to provide other parents with proper opportunity and proper resources to help them not go that avenue. So yeah, we can win. You know, we hadn't had any success with the war on drugs for 30 years. We can win it, but people in our communities have to chip in. Can't do it watching TV.
Well, I'd say it take a miracle to win it, because you got supply and demand. I mean, if we didn't have all the people wanting to do drugs, they wouldn't be here. But I ran for sheriff in 2010 and 2014, and back then it was pills, and I said the same thing then. I said, well, everybody's addicted to pills. Well, I'm out amongst people all the time, and I kind of know what people's up to. But the people I ran against, all they just kind of laughed at for 8 or 10 years. Man, it was. The pills took over everything. Like I say, it's heroin, meth. I don't understand how people, no education or nothing, can take a bunch of chemicals and make meth out of it. I don't understand it, but they're pretty crafty for some reason or another. But I just, you know, I think the federal government really, it's too much money in it. I mean, there's too much money changing hands. if I could put a stop to it today, I would, but somebody be wanting to kill me tonight because of that. I mean, I just don't see there's any way. I mean, like I say, I know just like you said, it closed crazy houses down, and I understand that pretty good. There's a lot of crazy people around. But, I just don't see how, I mean, I try to teach my kids, I teach my grandkids the same thing. I got my beliefs, and I try to show them my beliefs are right. And maybe they're not. Like I say, I don't drink, the only thing I do is smoke cigarettes. I'm not use drugs. I mean, I don't even like to be around people with drugs. I've seen a piece of crack one time when I was probably about 20 years ago. Cause I wanted to look at it, cause I'd never seen that. And, just in case one of my kids or something had it, I know what I was looking at. And a man walked over wearing the carpet in his house. Picked up a piece like it right there, said, right there is what it looks like. That's over the carpet. I said, okay. So like I say, I've never really been pot. I've seen pot and stuff like this. I tell you what, it gets a hold of people. Like I say, I've seen people die too. I've seen people lose their kids. And the way they cry and go on, I mean, it's just tough. And there's not enough jail to put them all in. I mean, you know, just pray the Lord that they don't mess with it. That's the biggest thing. But I mean, you can pray and pray and pray till you go to face. A lot of people ain't gonna help.
I think long term, yes. I mean, we can make a difference. I mean, I think most folks here probably know where our real hope lies, and it's not with man, but with God. But there are some things that, you know, we've all talked a little bit about. You know, a lot of things are getting pushed on law enforcement. They're really, we're there because no one else is there. When they call, we show up. It's not necessarily things we're trained for, things we do, but we try to do it because we want to help our fellow man. There's some programs that we should work with. There's, I'm trying to think of the name of the program right now, but the health department currently has a program they're running when they have an overdose. They assign a community paramedic, they assign a clinician, they assign a counselor, and they try to follow up with that person because they found a lot of the people are repeat offenders, and they'll overdose and overdose again. Sort of a newer thing the county's been doing. When I say newer, less than a year, so a lot of the data's not back yet on all that. I think there's some good possibilities with that particular program. We've looked into the opportunity or the possibility of having a veterans court here in Rowan County. Our veteran service coordinator has been meeting around the state with some folks. It's going to take a lot of buy-in from the sheriff's office, from the DA, from the judges. But basically they find veterans that have these drug offenses or other things. They find out why are you having this? Is it related to post-traumatic stress? Is it something you got hurt in the military when you got out? You're hooked on a drug now. And there's monies and programs that the VA have there, and they see if they're doing these things because of this. So they get them into the program. They look at the resources the VA has and try to put some together. And a lot of the counties, there's a few counties now that have those courts, and the rates for those people repeating is really low. I mean, some counties have like 2% repeat rate once they get those people into veterans court. You know, I think all of us as law enforcement ambassadors to the community, I certainly like that when we go up and talk to the children and talk to them about the future, not to be involved in those sort of things. But really, it's going to be us as individuals, congregations and churches get involved. You know, there's my church, for instance, is looking at a program to help with that. I think it's really going to have to be something that's going to have to be done from the other side, not from law enforcement, where we can be there to help and not be the one that's going to do it. So I think there is hope. You know, as I've said before, our community is getting economically better. especially from where we were in 2008. I think as that happens, there's more opportunities. You know, we talked to some of the businesses and, they have jobs, but nobody will, if they show up for the drug test, then they fail the drug test. So, like I said, there's a lot of parts that's gotta be all pushed together. I certainly think the sheriff's office and the sheriff himself have, or his, herself, whoever the sheriff is, has part of the responsibility to be a community member on that, to be a stakeholder. And I think, leading by example, trying to get those things done is important. But at the end of the day, like I said before, a lot of things that get pushed on us, and we don't mind trying to do them, but those are going to take the whole community to get them. And I think there is some hope for that.
Is there hope? A little bit. Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Pretty dim. And why is that? You can give all the drug abuse counseling you want to someone, you can give them all the resources you want to give them, you can take them to all the counselors you want to take them to. If they don't want the help, you're wasting your time. All we can do, or what we can try to do, is limit the access that they have to all the drugs that are readily available. But like Jack said, it's just so easy for somebody to cook meth in their own home. There's probably, you tear one meth lab down, they've got 15 more up tomorrow. It starts at your home. You know, you raise your kids a certain way, the right way, you can't help how they turn out. You can't help who they socialize with, who they hang out with. But is there a light? It's a pretty dim light. But as far as somebody wanting to get the help, if they don't want the help, you're wasting your breath. From my experience, all day long, you can give them this phone number, you can take them to this counselor, you can take them to this church, you can sit down and you can talk with them, you can spend time with them, but if they don't want the help, they're not gonna change. You just limit the access they have to them.
I appreciate that input, all the wisdom. That veterans court idea, I'm not familiar with, but as a veteran, we would listen to another veteran maybe, before maybe anybody else. I like that idea. And I appreciate you dip at the jail, and I'd love to come on board if I could help in any way with that, brother. We'll talk later, but thanks guys, appreciate it.
Going with what we're on right now, I'm gonna use a road that is very local, Goodson Road. We know of at least one drug house. Been dealing with that drug house for 3 years. The sheriff's department has been called out numerous times. When I say numerous, I'm gonna go ahead and put it out on the limb at around 50 to 60 times. Do you know that there's not been one arrest in 3 years for this one home? One reason I had to shut down one of my businesses was because the people coming to my shop were able to stand at my door and count cars going in and out every 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know if any of y'all.
You got something going on down there other than drugs?
No, I've sent pictures in to the detective, sent license tag numbers in to the detective. We've taken pictures of people putting stuff out at the mailbox to be picked up and delivered. This has been going on for 3 years. And I hope whoever gets put in the sheriff makes whatever changes needs to happen. Because 3 years of begging and pleading and stuff getting stolen, because I'm having to protect my stuff and other people's stuff at my property, it's uncalled for. So I'm really hoping that whoever gets elected as sheriff, as Rowan County Sheriff, can make some changes. And I'm gonna go on into, response time.
You didn't want me to respond to that? You were staring at
I got a few
asking
things
me.
here. Response time, also, I think some things could change. I'm trying to catch up from where we went on a while ago with this. Response time can change if we don't have 5 and 6 officers sitting down at Hendricks. And we know that it's not during their off time because it's at lunchtime, when I go pick up lunch. I see them sit down on 70 at Troyer's Market, a whole line of deputies' cars. Another thing, Cleveland, Rockwell, Grant Quarry, Coolamy, which is not Rowan County, but it butts up to Rowan County, all have police departments. Woodleaf has nothing. Woodleaf barely has a deputy. I don't know who the deputy or deputies are, but I know that things can change in the department. We see it every day being citizens out here. We see that a lot of times whenever we call in and somebody does show up, they're not interested in hearing what you got to say. Let's do something. Let's make it happen. Doesn't care what's right, what's wrong. Now we've got a family, now we've got a business that has just lost out. And we see that a lot in Rowan County. We see that a whole lot in western Rowan County. The past 6 to 8 months, you have any idea how many just trailers were stolen right here in western Rowan County? It's a bunch, like 30 to 40.
Wow.
And we knew who was doing it. We had pictures of them. One of the deputies that is not here right now has been working this case, and I personally have been working side by side. And we've had very little get done. We have the same guy that is stealing over and over and over being let back out on very low bonds. And I know y'all don't have anything to do with bonds, but it's over and over and over and over with the same person, the same people. It hasn't stopped. With the drug problems, and I'm going to say on Goodson Road again, with that drug problem being going on for 3 years, with pictures being sent to the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff's Department has come out. They've done a stakeout. But just as soon as that marked car comes down Goodson Road, cockroaches, gone. Okay, they know when y'all are there. Is there a way that y'all can fix that?
Certainly.
Is there a way that we can, us as a community, is there more that we can do besides put ourselves in y'all's spot? Because I personally had to do that. I personally held 4 individuals for our officers. When they responded, they had 3 of the 4 people had warrants, and you know what? They didn't lock none of them up. They left them be. This has been several months back. I don't care about COVID. COVID does not have anything to do with our rights. And with COVID coming along, people not getting locked up, that goes against our constitutional right as free people. And I want to see something change. I don't know about the rest of these folks, but I know I'm going to see things change. So now, yes, you can answer, but I wanted to get through stuff that I haven't been able to put out right here.
Well, since he
I don't know how to answer all that.
He ought to know all that.
No, I ain't never once said I know all the answers. And I definitely don't know all the answers to everything that you just said. 3 years is a long time, ain't no doubt. I don't know the details or the specifics of what you're talking about. I just don't. I haven't been in the drug unit for years. Although I did 8 years of narcotics and undercover investigations, okay? I can tell you without a doubt, we do hundreds of search warrants a year within the sheriff's office within this county. That one, I can only assume or guess or give you some kind of explanation. You know, it could be that that house has changed hands. I don't know. But what I do know is today's society on TV, every 30 minutes somebody solves a crime. That's not real life. And you can send picture after picture after picture after picture after picture after picture after picture of a license tag or a car. And that is not probable cause to go get a search warrant. It just ain't. Now, I also know we don't do stakeouts with marked cars. So that person was just riding through trying to deter something, more than likely.
Well, I know everything there is to know about this case. I've been there, I can tell you, they have patrolled Goodson Road over and over and over. I put up a sign, one of my guys put up a sign that says, "Get your free meth right here." Okay, that's what got,
Yeah, but
that's
what
what got the
does
sheriff's
that-
department to come out.
You know, I'm not trying to get in an argument with you, but what does that do for us to prove a case in court? It don't do anything.
After 3 years, I
You know,
have, after 3 years.
when I was doing investigations, I got a lot of people calling me and saying, "Hey, Detective Handle, I got these people, they're coming in and out all day long." Fine, I'll do anything I can to help you. We'll go in there and buy some dope for me. No, I can't do that, I can't get involved like that. So, without somebody going in there and buying dope, it's kinda hard to get probable cause, but what we do is, we'll stop those cars, you may not see it, because we're not gonna stop them right next to the house. We'll stop those cars, we try to turn informants, sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I'm sorry as I can be, I don't know what the answer will be to that house. And I hate that you're going through that, you and your family. But I know there's a process, and due to some of our TV programs, courts and juries have unrealistic expectations of what we have, but it ain't gonna be a picture of "Get your free meth here," and it ain't gonna be a picture of tags and people coming and going. If that was your house, do you want me to come kick your door in based on some tags? You don't?
Let me stop you real quick.
All right.
I found drug paraphernalia. Officers got that.
Whose was it?
It was.
Do you have a name?
I'm not getting into all that right
Well,
here.
that's what we can't do.
I'm not gonna get into that right here. But what I can say is, whenever I say pictures of license tag, there's other pictures too, like the people handing off drugs, the vehicles themselves, putting drugs in a pipe at the end of my fence. Okay, those are the types of things that was seen and taken pictures of, and still nothing happened. After 3 years, why should I or anybody else for that matter have to step in and do the job of the police officer that I'm not getting paid to do? Now, I have had to do that, sir, and I do know that the officers have pulled over.
Remember, I'd like to step in and protect him at this time, brother, you're getting personal about this.
It's kind of like an attack on me.
These guys are on the sheriff, you deal with it.
That was not an attack on one person.
I'd like to say thank you, gentlemen, for your time. We've kept you here for 2 hours. God bless you. I honestly feel confident with any of you. Brother Pops, your family, great history. Captain, you've done an awful job, worked up through the ranks. You've got full authority and confidence in you.
Thank you.
Jack, I'd get back with you anywhere to county and fight, so I'll know a whole lot. Brother Mike, you've got some very good wisdom and some awesome experience you bring to the table. I don't think we've done wrong as a county. And I think the Lord has sent us some wonderful candidates here. Now, whoever gets the job is in God's hands. I'm going to go and share as best I can what I've learned from tonight. Thank you for your time. I'm sure Brother Randall will set up another meeting or something, but we can spend some more time. But with that being said, I'd like to probably move to withdraw our meeting, if that's cool. And I have a close word of prayer, if there any closing remarks anything you'd like to say, maybe. Give me these few minutes to do that, and then we'll move on. Let y'all get on with your life as well. So, Pops, you can start off.
I understand your passion. I feel your passion. I understand why you're upset. I know what you want done.
Sir, I'm not pointing fingers.
I know you're not, but I'm with you. As far as the deputy comes out and seems like he doesn't care, that's when you come to my office and walk in my door and we talk.
And that's what I want to hear, because I've made phone calls after phone calls to speak with all, and I have yet to get an answer.
And you won't have to make an appointment, and I won't be out at lunch. I might not be there, but you leave your name and number, or you wait the hour I'm gonna eat my meal, and then you're gonna talk.
Now, so that everybody is clear about this, I'm the one that started this meeting so that we would know who is gonna represent us in our county, who's gonna protect us in our county. That's the reason I stepped forward, and I'm the one that started this. Nobody else has done this in Woodley, and it's time that we, as a community, get to know our candidates. We have not been able to get to know our candidates except for what we see on TV or what we see in picture and ad. So now today we get to see who is here. We get to see if they have heart, if they don't have heart. We get to see who's going to do what. Okay? Yes, we're gonna do this more. I hope to do this within the next year and a half, about 5 to 10 more times. Lord willing, we're gonna get it done. Okay? But y'all are in the hot seat, and that's why I was here asking questions. That's why these people was here asking questions. The hot seat's on y'all, because you're the one hired to do for us. Now, as far as making us happy, that's 50-50. You can't make the 50% of the people happy, okay? All I ask for is honest answers. I ask for people to stand up and do what they do to the best that they can do it. And you fellas are the ones that come here tonight. We had 2 that didn't show up that give some reasons that should not have been given why they can't show up. 4 gentlemen shows up today. Some of you took a couple of hits. You know, it's a personal thing. It's going to be personal because you're all trying to go for the same job. We're putting you in that hot seat. We want to see who's got a hot head and who don't. Okay? We want to see who's got something to give the community. Because if you ain't got nothing to give the community, you don't need to be here. Okay? So if the preacher's ready and everybody else is done, y'all want to ask any questions?
I think the preacher went to the bathroom.
Okay.
First time I've seen a preacher leave first.
But,
I just wanna thank y'all.
Yeah, very welcome.
Thank y'all, thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all coming out
I
because
guarantee.
we are in the communities, we see it. And one other question that I do want to ask real quick. What are y'all gonna do as far as to make yourselves available in the community? What are you gonna do to involve yourself in the community? Hold on 1 second. As y'all come out, could you stop by different small businesses, check on how things are going in that area? Because your small business